I'm good, thank you. How are you? Good afternoon. Good afternoon to a room of energy. It is good that we are here together. I am especially pleased to see so many young women here to join us on a debate this afternoon that unfortunately is largely about politics and not so much about the future of Minnesota. We are 4 weeks now till the end of the legislature, 4 weeks as Minnesotans are expecting us to pass a budget bill, an infrastructure bill, and get our work done. We haven't seen budget targets yet, which is one of the important next steps before we can resolve the budget and the infrastructure bill for the end of the session. Yet we have time today to take up legislation, two pieces of legislation that would restrict access to necessary health care for women across the state of Minnesota. This is not something that women are seeking, of course, but we have time to do that instead of do the important work of this session. We have had this debate so many times, and this is certainly about politics, but make no mistake about this. Today, my Republican colleagues are inserting themselves into a decision about the health care of women that should be the decision for a woman, her family, and her health care provider. They're putting themselves into that decision. Minnesotans expect us to find common cause in this building on their behalf. And if our aim is to make sure that women are able to make the decisions to build their own futures, instead of restricting women's access to health care, we should be spending our time making sure women have access to contraception, to comprehensive sex education, and to the tools that allow them to build their own bright futures, their own economic security. And today on the floor of the House, we are going to engage in a debate to make sure that Minnesotans across the state of Minnesota understand that we stand with them, with their autonomy and their ability to make their own decisions about their health care. And with that, I'd like to introduce Chloe, one of our speakers. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. Hi, and good afternoon. My name is Chloe Hahn. My last name is spelled Haon. I'm from Minneapolis, Minnesota. 6 years ago, while attending college, I found out that I had become pregnant. I didn't know what to do or who to tell. I was afraid of being judged. I was a young woman of 19, trying to finish college and living on my own. I was not ready to become a parent. The next day, I went to my school advisor, desperately seeking advice and resources. When I told him that I was pregnant, he told me not to tell anyone. Then he passed me a pamphlet from across his desk. On it was a happy young woman in her graduation cap and gown, holding her baby. I left his office staring at this pamphlet, wondering if this was my only option. I felt vulnerable and defeated. After talking with a friend, I went to Planned Parenthood and saw a health care provider. There, I was given resources, education, and information about all of my options. I felt safe, supported, and finally in control. I was able to discuss and evaluate all of my options and eventually made the most realistic decision that was right for me. I chose to have an abortion. My decision to have an abortion was truly the best decision for me, and I have no regrets. I finished college and am currently in a dream job. I wouldn't be where I am today without having had that freedom of choice. And this is why I am here today. I'm here because I had a choice I was able to make with the help of my healthcare provider, with absolutely no political interference or involvement. And this is a right that every woman should have. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Hannah Stein, spelled Stein. This is my first press conference, so be gentle. So I am 39 years old. I'm from Minneapolis. I have 4 children. I've been married for 16 years almost, next month. And I have had 2 abortions, and one was when I was, right around 20, so it was a while ago now because I'm old. And the other one was just a few years ago. And that first one was the situation of just being too young and not feeling ready to take on the immense responsibility of having a child. The second one was after I'd had 4 children and I had 1-year-old twins I was parenting, and that's a lot. So at that time, we just didn't have any of the resources available to care for yet another pregnancy and child. So those were the basis for my decision. But what I really wanted to talk about today a little bit was the procedure itself, because it's my understanding that some of the bills we're looking at here are there's this narrative we have in our culture, our society, that abortion is, scary and mysterious and really dangerous. And so we have to overregulate it to make sure everyone's safe. And that is really not the case at all. So I just wanted to share a little bit with you about what it's like to actually have an abortion. For here in Minnesota, we have the 24-hour waiting period. So you get, I got a phone call from my provider before the procedure, and she's very professional, just like any phone call you get from your provider. And when I went in for the procedure, I sat in a waiting room, like we've all sat in before, and like I've sat in for other procedures, minor things like having your wisdom teeth out or the like, similar, kind of situation. And I went in then for tests. They did a pregnancy test. They did, took my blood pressure, other things to make sure I was healthy. They give you a counseling session to see if this is really what you want and if you're aware of your options. And then the procedure itself. So if you're having a medication abortion like I did, what happened was I went into the doctor's exam room and she gave me a shot and I went home. Like, that is the procedure that we apparently need all these regulations for. We need that so that you can, we need to make sure that air is piped in, oxygen is piped into every single room so that, you can get a shot. Like, it does not make sense. Now, the surgical procedure is only slightly more involved. For that procedure, with the medication, you get another medication that you insert at home, and you go through a home miscarriage, which I have unfortunately also experienced in my life naturally. But for the in surgical portion, if you're doing what they call a surgical abortion, you go into, again, I went into an exam room kind of thing with a table that I laid on and stirrups like every woman's seen before. And, there was a really kind, compassionate nurse who held my hand and supported me through it, talked to me. And the doctor and support personnel, they dilate your cervix just a little bit. And then they go in there and they take out your uterine lining, just like if you were kind of clearing out a period. And so, unsurprisingly, this takes about 5 to 10 minutes, and then you are done. There's no cutting. There's no stitches. To call it a surgery even seems like a bit of a misnomer to me. So then after that, I was taken to a waiting room, like a recovery room, where I sat in a little comfortable chair, and they gave me cookies and pretzels and juice. Like after you give blood, only with better chairs. And then after that, I felt recovered enough. I went home, and they obviously give you aftercare instructions, in case something should go wrong, what you should do, all that professional medical stuff. And, it's not, from a clinical perspective, obviously there can be emotional entanglements, but from a clinical perspective, and that's what we're talking about here when we're talking about regulating, it's very simple and uncomplicated procedure. And unsurprisingly, it's 10 times safer than giving birth, which we let people do at home. So, and I have also done, and it was more complicated. So, we're in the ironic position of the people supporting this legislation are saying that to protect my health, they want me to do something that's 10 times more dangerous, which, it just shows that this is not about my health. We all know this has nothing to do with my health or my safety. This is not why this legislation is proposed. It's just proposed to make it difficult for abortion providers to stand with women like us. It's just there to try and stop them from operating because they can't go forward and say and outlaw abortion because it's a constitutional right. They're trying to do it through the back door by making it impossible for us to obtain. And that is unconstitutional too. We have the fundamental human right to control what happens to our own bodies, and to take that away is just antithetical to our democracy. So I wanted to stress it's unconstitutional, and that's the big elephant in the room with these things. But there's also one more thing I wanted to say. I know I have limited time here, but I really wanted to say the abortion providers that I experienced and the staff and the nurses and the doctors, they were all amazing, and they are all amazing. And, these are people who could be making so much more money some other way. We all know they could, go into any other area of medicine and be making more money, and they wouldn't face threats against their lives, and they wouldn't face harassment, and they would be, wouldn't have threats against their families. But they do this for us. They stand up for us when no one else will. And I just wanted to say to them, there are, millions of women out there who are so, so grateful that you are doing this. This legislation is not from us, and it is not for us. And we really, really appreciate what you're doing. So I think this kind of legislation makes me lose faith in humanity, but you guys put it back again. So thank you.
Hi, my name is Elizabeth Van Heel. My last name is spelled V-A-N space H-E-E-L. And I live in Edina, Minnesota. When my husband and I learned that I was pregnant last year with our second child, we were thrilled. At 18 weeks, it was time for the big ultrasound for finding out whether we were having a boy or a girl. So there in radiology, the tech reviewed a few key areas of anatomy and told us that we were having a boy. After a while, the doctor called us into her office, and she wasn't her usual perky self. And she said, "Radiology paged me. The images look bad, really bad. The baby has a condition that is not compatible with life." The doctor took a few more minutes to explain that the baby had a neural tube defect called anencephaly. There is no cure and no treatment for anencephaly. That part about not compatible with life meant that I would either miscarry in the next few months or the baby would die moments after I gave birth. So there in the doctor's office, because of those words, because of the diagnosis, that was the moment I lost my baby. I knew how I wanted to proceed, and I chose to terminate the pregnancy. The day of the abortion was a gray, rainy day in May. We drove past protesters in the parking lot. I had another ultrasound to see for the third time in 3 days the baby I was losing. That summer was spent processing what I went through, but I never for a second questioned my decision to terminate that pregnancy. Thankfully, I had options. I can only imagine how anxious I would have been on a daily basis, wondering if that would be the day I would miscarry. Watching my belly grow as I was cognizant of the need to keep some emotional distance between me and the baby I was losing. Instead, I was able to make the decision that was best for me and my family. My choice allowed me to begin the healing process and end this very much wanted pregnancy on my own terms. My family was able to move forward, and 8 weeks ago, I gave birth to a healthy baby boy. And he's here, you probably can hear him. This story is about more than just me and my family. It's about a woman's right to make a personal decision. These decisions are complicated and so deeply personal. And I believe that we need to trust women and their doctors to make their own decisions. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Laurie Halverson, and I'm the state representative from Egan's District 51B. I want to thank Elizabeth and Hannah and Chloe for sharing their powerful stories, sharing stories that really can illuminate the various challenges that women face in their lives and the ways in which women face them. And we're here today because the state legislature is trying to decide how women should face the most challenging, intimate, painful moments of their lives. Now, there's a lot of people that I go to when I'm facing a challenge in my life. I'll go to my spouse, whom I love dearly. I'll go to my parents, my siblings, my clergy. First person I talked about running for the legislature with was my pastor. I wanted to know if I had the strength to do this job. And he said there's a lot of ways to be called. When you're facing tough decisions in your life, I don't know anybody who gets on the phone and contacts their legislator. We got lots of opinions and lots of things to say, but you know what? We're not the ones who should be making decisions for women when it comes to their health care. I'm going to be offering an amendment to one of the bills today to repeal the Women's Right to Know Act that was passed back in about 10 years ago, that put in statute that the legislature gets to dictate what doctors say to their patients and how doctors treat their patients. Only when it comes to abortion. Only when it comes to your reproductive decision making. There is nothing, as these women have stated, particularly special or magical about this procedure that makes it more dangerous. In fact, it is safer than many activities of daily living that we participate in. It's safer than running a marathon. It's safer than giving birth. So there's no science that backs up the need to excessively regulate abortion. And we also know that women do better when they make decisions based on their own values, based on their own life situations. And that any time that the state thinks that they should get involved between women and their physicians, we're creating problems for women. And that goes back to the dawn of time, and regulating abortion is a fairly new phenomenon, and regulating it for moral reasons is a fairly new phenomenon in our society. The fact is that women have achieved better economic outcomes for their own life, better educational outcomes for their own life, better health outcomes for their own life, because they get to make their own decisions, and we should be here supporting that 110% every single day. So today I'm going to stand up for science, like millions of people around the country did this weekend. And I'm going to say we only are going to allow women to have science-based information. We are not going to dictate what the relationship is between women and their doctors when they're making decisions. And we are going to trust women. Many years ago, I had somebody ask me, I went to Catholic college, and so this was a topic that came up a lot at a women's college that's faith-based, and I'm a person with a strong faith. And somebody said to me, how can you be pro-choice? And I said, probably for the same reasons that you're not. I was very thoughtful about it. And I came to my support for women with a compassionate and caring heart, with a faithful, believing soul, and with a thoughtful mind. And I will continue to support these women and their beautiful baby so that they can make the decisions about what is going to be right for their lives. I trust women, and thank you for being here and trusting them too.
Well, hi, everybody. This is pretty exciting, and I get to be the closer here, I guess. So I just wanted to say a few words. I'm Representative Tina Liebling from Rochester. One of the things that the author of this new bill said when she presented it in the Ways and Means Committee is that we don't have a problem with safety here in Minnesota. She admitted that publicly on the record. There is no problem with the safety of abortions. And we know that's true because abortions there's a lot of reporting that has to be done on abortions, more than anything else, I think, in the health area. And we know, as some of my colleagues have said, that abortion is a very safe procedure. And there is no problem here in our abortion facilities in Minnesota. And nevertheless, the Republicans are coming forward with this legislation, with these two bills. One of them, the one that prevents women on Medicaid from having their health care paid for, we have seen this over and over again, pretty much in the same form. It just keeps coming back. They just never give up. The other one, which is about licensing of abortion clinics, is really substantially changed now. And I understand that they have made the statement that they've done everything we asked to make this an acceptable bill. Well, no, they have not. First of all, there isn't a problem. There just isn't a problem. We don't need a solution where there is no problem. So that is the very first thing. The bill itself they used the basis of the old bill that we've seen a lot about regulating clinics, but they did what's called a delete everything amendment, so they completely changed the bill to make it a different kind of licensing with accreditation required by an unnamed out-of-state national entity, and all kinds of reporting to get the license so that the entity would have to tell the Department of Health all kinds of information, who the providers are, where they live, and so on, which under the bill would be public information. So this is very, very concerning. It's very different than what we've seen before. It's obviously a new way to get around whole women's health, the Supreme Court decision that pretty much closed off the other avenue, and so they're trying a different route. This is what we're dealing with. So I think my colleagues have said it very well. There are a lot of things on the legislature's plate right now. We're getting close to the end of session. We have big budget differences outstanding. We need a capital investment bill. We need a transportation bill. And yet, here we are again. Here we are again with Republican legislators using our time, our very limited time, to debate the same kinds of stuff and to continually attack women and try to impose their will on women. The other thing about this that I find so ironic is that the Republican Party, at least in the past, always talked about limited government. Limited government and local control. Well, what is more local than letting a woman make her own decision on her own intimate affairs? So thank you all so very much for joining us today. I hope that we can soon get to a time when brave women like Chloe and Hannah and Elizabeth do not have to stand in public and tell intimate details about their histories. I commend them for the bravery that they have shown in doing that, but it is something that they should never have to do. Thank you.
Any questions?
With regards to the licensure bill, obviously there's the change that Representative Liebling talked about that had been made. Do you think there's any good faith effort in trying to move toward a compromise on that, or do you think that this is entirely, as you seem, I thought it seemed to imply, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that this is a trick, legislative trick to try to avoid legal issues?
Well, I wouldn't call it a trick. I think it is an attempt to go around the settled Supreme Court decision that's been made because they're changing the way they're going at it, but it's essentially the same thing. They claim that they've made efforts to reach out, but this is a bill that just came up in a very sudden way. It never went to a health committee. It never got a fiscal note. And it's been kind of shoehorned in at the last second by just deleting it onto another bill and then moving it suddenly to the floor. That's not what you do if you're looking for compromise.
I'm not sure who this question is for, but over the weekend, DNC Chair Tom Perez came out and made some statements about the Democratic Party and which candidates it would support, saying that the party shouldn't support candidates who do not believe in abortion rights. Anybody want to react to that?
I am a member of the House DFL caucus and a member of the DFL party and a Minnesotan who believes in an open and big tent. There are members of our caucus who are pro-life and pro-choice. I know as someone who's recruited candidates, I have recruited candidates who are both pro-life and pro-choice. Our job is to represent the interests of Minnesotans, and this is a question for people. So I don't think that it is a factor from which, by which people should be excluded from participating in the political process. It is up to the voters themselves to make that decision.
As a swing district member, I would like to add that one of the strengths of being part of the House DFL caucus has been that I have been able to vote my district without undue pressure from my caucus. That has served me well. I get to be the right legislator for my district. And the same is true for members who may not support abortion rights. Do I personally wish we had a pro-choice majority in the House? Yes. That's my policy value. I think that's important for public policy. However, our caucus has been one that's really allowed members the freedom. And you won't see us be lockstep on everything. And that's because, as Representative Murphy said, it's a big state. It's a diverse state. And I'm really proud to be part of a caucus that lets me represent my district before my political party.
And let me just add a word to that as well. I'm from a district where the Republicans used to be pro-choice. So this goes both ways. We don't see too many pro-choice Republicans anymore. They kind of got pushed out of their party. So that's really unfortunate. And you know, I think there is room. I think it was Bill Clinton who used to say that abortion should be safe, legal, and rare. And I think probably everybody in this room would agree with that. Safe, legal, and rare. But I think where we part ways is whether we should use government to enforce our personal views on other people. I think that's where the real drawing line comes. But, you know, I agree with my colleagues that we are a big tent and we can try to convince each other, but I don't think we have a litmus test on this issue or really on any other issue.
Thank you.